Hey there, it's Layla, and today I want to talk about something that's been coming up quite a bit. So, panic or shame spirals, things like that. And sometimes we are the one having a full on spiral, and sometimes we're the one kind of getting hit with the collateral damage. And this Friday, I want to talk about identifying which one are you and then knowing what to do with it, because I think that's the hardest part in a relationship dynamic, no matter what relationship. It can be a teenager, it can be an aging parent, whatever it is, it's going to come up, especially if you work in the creative field with this crazy schedule and all these different dynamics. Spirals happen. So I want to normalize that, because what's happening isn't psychologically some kind of defect, or it's not that person manipulating you or trying to bring you down. It's just panic looking for somewhere to land, somewhere to kind of just fall out. I also think it's important to explain how this happens. So for the person in the shame spiral or the person in panic, it's important to know, it's not because you're doing something wrong or you're weak or you don't know how to deal with life. It's that the nervous system over time, and especially if there's been developmental trauma or fears or high critical parents or caretakers, the nervous system stops developing internal coping skills. So over and over, right, this external regulation doesn't happen for you, right? And so all these things that feel like character flaws are actually just the nervous system not in practice and not having the tools yet. Because once you get those, you can learn and get into flow and figure out where your attachments are and how you need to discharge when panic and shame hit, or how to get out of a spiral. Maybe it's a physical walk, maybe it's calling a certain person. Whatever it is, those patterns that were unhealthy can be unlearned. And with the anatomy of the spiral, you want to, be aware of it, but you want to be able to recognize this pattern, this cycle, because there's a way to do it where you're feeding into the cycle and some unhealthy aspects of it, and then there's a way to interrupt it. An overview is, it always starts with a trigger, and for the person who's getting triggered, it's something real. It could be financial stress, it could be creative rejection, it could be relational issues, family, whatever it is. It starts with something real. But then that narrative gets real dark, and then shame comes in. And when shame comes into the game, all bets are off, because it isn't looking for rational thought, it's looking to be right. So it's going to find everything that makes you feel awful or makes them feel awful. So you've got the trigger, right? And then shame gets activated. But then the catastrophic narrative, and that needs to go somewhere. That energy, those words, those thoughts, they need to be processed. And if there's not somewhere to process that, it can come out as emotional dumping. It can come out as really serious and scary talk. And, as a clinician, we don't mess with suicidal talk, because nobody ever wants to be on the wrong side of being like, oh, they always say that. So I want you to set your boundary with those kinds of words and that language. But it is going to, come up here and there if we're being realistic, especially in the industry I work with. So it's important to make people aware that dumping comes. So you have a choice there as a supporter, right? To be reactive or to try to fix it, or to be an anchor. And I really want you to learn more about how to be an anchor in your context, because that's what matters. Because overfixing isn't gonna, do it. Rescuing them is gonna make you tired, and then they're not having to grow. There's all kinds of ways this can go. Reassurance loop is not what you want to do. It's kind of like when you see people with OCD, or say it's a teenager, right? Having a full-on shame spiral about not making a team. Instead of just reassuring, well, they don't know what they're doing and you're better than they can see. You want to stay honest, right? Because you want them to keep trusting you. And reassurance, it can be a temporary relief, but it reinforces the pattern. So being an anchor is saying, I'm here for you. I can see how that would be really upsetting. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it, but your worth isn't tied to whether you made that team or got that job or those financial stressors hit. That's what being an anchor is versus like, no, you're the greatest. You see what I'm saying? There are 4 things you want to do when somebody is going into panic or stress, overwhelm, or kind of that narrative is like self-hating and berating and, all those things. The first one is you want to acknowledge the stress. Acknowledge that it's there. Give it a name. Say it. Say, I see that you're stressed. Whatever that looks like, right? I know this feels overwhelming. The second thing, refuse the distorted narrative. That does not mean dispute it. Refuse to take it on. So that can look like, I'm not going to agree with the part where you're saying like, you're being punished by the world, or you're worthless, or nobody gives a shit. And then the third one is to redirect to the next step for them, right? So what's the best move for you today? What will make you feel like you can kind of manage this better is one example. And then the fourth thing is you really kind of want to use care, not rescuing, right? So respect and love, not rescuing. There's a difference. And lastly, I think it's important to remember some guiding principles when dealing with either yourself in a spiral or someone you love in a spiral, and that is you cannot think someone out of a nervous system state. It just doesn't work. The only thing that does is steady presence. That's what helps. Refusing the narrative is not the same as like withholding or withdrawing your love. Refusing their narrative is not the same. And when your regulated system is the most powerful tool in the room, in the relationship, for the teenager, for the client, that is so key, because you're not allowing your system to get dysregulated and you're co-regulating with someone else. So it is your tool. Saving someone, rescuing someone, trying to pander to what they think they need in that moment, you start losing your own. And then consistency over time. That's what will make and change the way one deals with both being a supporter or a panic, because it honestly takes turns, right? It's not always the same person in panic, and it's not always the same person supporting. So knowing that consistency over time, finding your grounding, finding your somatic tools, and really being aware of your nervous system is the way through that. I hope it helps. Have a great weekend. A lot of people going on spring break. Yeah, that's it. Take care.